we visit Australia's hottest town. So that's what happens when you come following me down some four-wheel drive tracks. The other guys followed me down too, and now we've got two more stuck cruisers. You changed gears there at the right or the wrong time.
I know, it's rookie error.
We find an oasis in the desert. We've made it down to old Corunna Station now, and we're actually at a location of an old World War II secret airbase. We're gonna go for a quick explore around and check out some of the old relics, the aircraft hangars and the runways and taxiways. This is the first week on the road, and we finally got Dad in the kitchen. I'm staying well away, but there's a lot of history out here. There's a lot of old building footings, some old relics. We are expecting a lot of rain to come in the next few days. The weather forecast is saying up to 60 mil tomorrow. It's going to close those roads off. We climb to new heights and set our sights on more amazing locations. The storms are approaching and the tracks are getting wet. We are now heading towards Marble Bar, Australia's hottest town. Marble Bar has a similar history to Nullagine. Located only 90 kilometres north, Marble Bar was gazetted in 1893 following the discovery of gold in the area. The town boasted a population of over 5,000 people during the gold rush and featured many government buildings cut from local stone that still stand today. We dropped into the visitor centre, which displays many relics from the town's heyday. Marble Bar has set the world record for the most consecutive days of 100 degrees Fahrenheit or above during a 160-day period between 1923 and 1924. Time to hit the road and find out how Marble Bar got its name. Or not. Turns out these riverbeds were very soft, and not having a functioning air compressor, I didn't want to lower the tyre pressures down. Luckily, Crawl Control pulled me up and out without a problem. So that's what happens when you come following me down some four-wheel drive tracks. Almost got stuck there, but Crawl Control saved the day. But the other guys followed me down too, and now we've got two more stuck cruisers, so they're just lowering the tyre pressures down now. But even though Tegan's not here, I can hear her saying, why can't you just park in the car park like everybody else? But you know, we're just gonna push it that little bit further, and it's all part of the adventure, I guess. But we'll get these cruisers out, and then we're off to see what these rocks look like in Marble Bar. With the cruiser and trailer tyres lowered, Tom was up to give it a go.
You had it! No. Not going anywhere. I thought 18 would be enough.
You changed gears there at the right or the wrong time.
I know, it's rookie error.
Lowering the tyres all the way down to 10 psi shows just how important and useful correct tyre pressures are in a situation like this. With the 76 out of the way, it was time to get my cruiser out. Graham's 200 series, although just as capable as my one, is towing that 1.7 tonne trailer, which made the process of turning around much more difficult. There was only so much Crawl Control could do, and in the end we still needed the 4 Max Trax boards and a few winch setups to get out. The screeching sound you can hear is the coarse sand and rocks caught in the brake calipers and fouling against the brake discs.
Yep, go, 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 go!
With one last final pull up and over the bank, we were all out and back up to solid ground. Considering our remote location, the town has an oasis in such a harsh landscape.
I found my heart again. You were standing there, you bravely led me in. I could wait 1,000,000 years or more until you came knocking at my door. It's hard to be.
It was finally time to head down to the water's edge to see why Marble Bar got its name. This area consists of these rocky outcrops along the banks of the Gungan River, and up close you can see the layers of rock built upon each other, striking a strong resemblance to marble. Originally thought to be marble, it was later discovered to be jasper. Regardless, still a sight to see in such a remote area of outback Australia. After spending an hour and a half recovering our vehicles, we were all ready to start making our way to camp for the night. Everything in the Pilbara is big. The road trains out here can be up to 60 metres long, carry loads up to 144 tonnes and consist of 104 tyres. An impressive sight to see. A 35km drive south of Marble Bar and we reached Corunna Downs Airfield. We've made it down to old Corunna Station now, and we're actually at a location of an old World War II secret airbase. So we're just dropping the trailers off at this location here, which is where we're going to call camp for the night. And we're going to go for a quick explore around and check out some of the old relics, the aircraft hangars and the runways and taxiways. So let's go have a look around. This airbase was in service between 1942 and 1945 when it was officially disbanded in 1947. The Marble Bar Tourist Association provides great maps and history of the area. This track we were climbing led us to the location of where the water tanks were placed upon the ridgeline for the 300 personnel from the Royal Australian Air Force and the United States Army Air Force. We explored the area, but with a setting sun, it was time to head back to camp and set up for the night. This trip is proving to be a great test for the new crash pad swag, and who could ask for a better location as the sun slips behind the ranges. This is the first a week on the road, and we finally got Dad in the kitchen. I'm staying well away, but what are we having today?
We are having devilled sausages with a few extra veggies added.
Nice, and you can't complain with the backdrop either. What a place for a camp, eh? Time for a drink as we relax and watch the light fade on the horizon.
Saturday afternoon, recovering a vehicle, doing what you enjoy.
Well, check out that view. This is old Corunna Station, and this is part of the remains of the old World War II airbase that was situated out here just south of Pilbara back in the 1940s. There's a lot of history out here, there's a lot of old building footings, some old relics, and not to mention the old two airstrips that are still in very good condition. So I've got up very early this morning. Unfortunately, we didn't get the sunrise we were hoping for with that cloud cover, but we're still going to have a bit of a look around and see what we can find before heading off today off to Karratha. I love these types of sites, trying to imagine the energy and the sense of community spirit that would have been present almost 80 years ago. This site here is what remains of the hospital. With the base of the walls still cemented into the concrete pad, you can almost imagine what it would have been like to walk through in 1943. The site here, being the remains of the workshops, revealed abandoned machinery parts, plenty of old relics including many of these bomb clamps. Appliances still remain where the kitchen mess once stood. Along the taxiways are the remainder of 20 revetments, mounds of dirt pushed into a horseshoe design to house the Liberator B-24 long-range bombers. These hangar sites were intentionally designed to blend in with the surrounding scenery, combined with the simmering heat of the landscape, meant that the site was never discovered by enemy forces. The B-24 Liberators were a long-range bombing aircraft that completed many successful missions against Australia's northern enemy forces and were instrumental in the success of halting any domestic invasion. You can almost imagine what it would have been like to taxi towards the main 7,000 foot long runway and hear the roar of the 4 supercharged radial engines. We can only imagine the nerves, emotions and thoughts that must have been going through the minds of the crew as they head off on 14-hour missions, not knowing whether they would return. I head back to one of the revetments where we were fortunate enough to call camp last night and pack up for another day on the road. We head back to the highway and begin to head northwest with our sights set on a camp not too far from Karratha. So we're in a town called Karratha this morning. We had to backtrack a little from our camp out at 40 Mile Beach, but we didn't really get up to much yesterday. More of an admin day, you know, things like washing, shopping, regrouping, and getting ready for the second week of our trip. Our original plans were to head down to a place called Panawanika and then drive east through an unsealed road, stopping along the way, ending up in the Millstream National Park. However, some of the rain last week and some of the very heavy rain that we've got forecast for the next couple of days is going to close those roads off, and therefore not going to be a viable option, so plans have had to change. So what we've agreed to do is we've come to Karratha to regroup, and we're going to try and get some information and try and head down to Millstream National Park via a more sealed and safer route that's actually open. But we are expecting a lot of rain to come in the next few days. The weather forecast is saying up to 60 mil tomorrow, and maybe 10 to 20 or even 30 mil today. So we've got to be careful. We're probably going to be camping in the rain, but nonetheless we'll try and get somewhere a little bit picturesque anyway, and we'll see how the day pans out.
As excited as we all were to arrive in Millstream National Park, we knew the storm front on the horizon was coming and would make for some interesting camps. The drive from Karratha to Millstream is spectacular. The cutouts within the ranges, the ability to view the huge iron ore trains alongside the road, and the clear skies ahead made for a very picturesque drive. It wasn't long before we hit the gravel and the corrugations were rough. It was time to air down. The drive into Python Pool provided more amazing views of the national park and our first stop, Mount Herbert. Only a 10-minute climb to the top, but it provided panoramic 360-degree views of this rugged landscape. We continued onto Python Pool, only a short walk from the vehicle, and we are greeted by a large freshwater pool. Perfect temperatures in and out of the water gave for a great place to cool off, relax, and enjoy a beer for an hour or so. Peeling ourselves from Python Pool, it was time to move on to George Gorge, our planned camp for the night. Next time on Chasing Adventure. We take the wrong way down a dry and rocky riverbed before discovering another awesome campsite. Here we found what has to be, again, one of the best campsites I've come across, particularly in this area. We have got some clouds rolling in and the rain is safe to fall. So it's currently 4:30 in the morning. This rain has been going non-stop all night. Nonetheless, I don't think it's going to be a good idea to stay here. So we've made it to this little patch of high ground here. What we can hear is a large gushing of water, so I reckon that river down there that we'll camp next to is now flowing at full force. So after the reconnaissance drive into 76 this morning, I think it's pretty clear that we're not going anywhere anytime soon. And looking at the weather forecast, it's not looking good. We're still expecting another 60 to 100 mil. I think we're starting to get a little bit over the novelty of being landlocked. There's no way we're getting the cruisers and the trailers out of this area. We're forecasting that we should be able to drive out on Thursday, which is probably 2 days, but towels are soaked, our clothes are soaked, hats are soaked, hair's soaked, hands are wet. You just can't dry anything or keep anything dry.
Follow me, he said. We'll be right, he said.
So I think it's fair to say that my expedition to lead us to the waterfall behind that cliff there was a big failure. So we're gonna hop back in the room, float down to where we started and try a different way. 2.5 hours of hiking, one failed expedition, but a whole lot of fun. And how awesome is this view? We're gonna sit down, chill out and enjoy our surroundings.